Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Zack Sabre Jr., New Japan Cup winner 2018. And you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style with my mates. Enjoy.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy, Donovan, and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with Rich Latta. On today's show, we'll be reviewing Royal Quest, answering your questions, and covering all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. This episode of Keeping It Strong Style is brought to you by Powerslam TV. Powerslam TV is an independent wrestling streaming service with over 5,000 hours of wrestling from companies across the world. Use the promo code SOCIALSUPLEX to get your first month free. Also, make sure you check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt, as well as other t-shirts here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. And like you heard in the intro, I am joined this week by Rich Latta. The young boy is taking Labor Day off, so I called in my main man, Rich, OG.
There's the OG edition of Keeping It Strong Style. Oh man, glad to be here. Watched Royal Quest over the weekend in addition to NXT TakeOver UK and AEW All Out. So I talked about AEW yesterday. Today will be New Japan, and I'm glad to be here back on the show as always.
Yeah, man, we had a pretty crazy day on Saturday watching Royal Quest, NXT TakeOver Cardiff, and All Out. 11-hour day, just jam-packed of some great wrestling. And like you mentioned, you guys talked about All Out on One Nation Radio this week, and now we're going to talk about Royal Quest. First things first, we have a question here from Reddit user, why did you do that, bro? Is with the last 2 fight shows having a number of issues, do you think New Japan would be better off trying to broadcast these international shows themselves? So, Fight TV had a a ton of issues. This is the worst Fight TV experience I've ever had. Normally, the app, the streaming service is fine. There might be some buffering here and there, but it's usually good. This thing was dropping in and out. The signal was dropping out. It would flash this fight screen, this dude boxing. the audio. The first match had no commentary. The stream would freeze. This thing was a hot mess. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, man, it was really bad. As you mentioned, there was the graphic that kept popping up with the boxer. So every time it would pop up, I would, imitate the boxer, and then all of a sudden I noticed my arms getting tired. I had to, it popped up so much, and some of the audio quality on there. We watched a House of Glory show. I want to say maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was the Young Bucks Pride Party match. The audio quality was comparable to that of House of Glory, and that's a horrible look for New Japan Pro Wrestling, I think. And I don't know the logistics of them having to broadcast these things themselves. And when they're in America, they have access as a partner most times, but I guess for these other shows like Australia and now the UK, something with TV Asahi, I think that's going on. I wish they would just set up New Japan World. I don't know what the holdup is. Jeremy, maybe you do. I'm not sure, but I would definitely be in favor of New Japan just shooting it themselves.
Yeah, personally, I agree with you. I would be with New Japan, filming these themselves and handling the streaming themselves. I mean, I've been a New Japan World subscriber for like 2 or 3 years now, and I've never had an issue with New Japan World streaming. And I know the whole thing was Fight TV paid for the production of this show and got the rights for this show. So I know on one hand, it's like, hey, this company is offering to pay for the production and handle all that. We don't have to worry about stuff. That's some money that we can save, and then they'll give us the file and we'll put it up on New Japan World and everything will be good. But when you're getting issues like this on a big show, it's not even like this was like, a house show level thing where you had like a bunch of, undercard tag. This was a big show. You had, IWGP title match, never title match, a tag title match. This was a pretty big show, and it kind of fell in line with all the stories that are happening in New Japan World. So to be advertising Fight and trying to get your, loyal New Japan fans who already have New Japan World to try and buy this thing on Fight TV is just a bad look.
And the next time they want, I think people are definitely going to be remembering this experience. And I think people are like, you know what, I'll just wait. I'll skip it. I'll wait till it's up on the proper format I like. And, I think they're taking a risk with that because, the more time passes, wrestling moves so fast. It's like, the Super J Cup, like that's not going up until now. It's September 2nd today, right? We don't know when that's going up. That's going to be out of the news cycle, essentially. Out of the current moment. And I think they run a lot of risk doing.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's just like you mentioned, people are just going to wait. The main reason we're a New Japan podcast. I want to make sure we got this in and reviewed it, and we're going to be watching wrestling all day. So why not? But going forward, if this is going to be the type of quality we're going to get, I'm just going to wait until it's up on New Japan World, and we'll do something else that week for the show because this was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Did you get the refund?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Secure the bag. Right?
it was very funny. As soon as like the option for requesting the refund was thrown out there, the stream all of a sudden got better.
Oh yeah. That's, I imagine that's not a coincidence.
So we have another question here from Reddit user Brian James Interactive. What can New Japan do to better communicate the broadcasting situations of shows which aren't shown live on New Japan World? I can't even count the amount of times I saw people asking when and how the Super J Cup and Royal Quest shows were being shown. Despite it being agitating, it obviously points to a little poor communication somewhere in the chain. Well,
yeah, like I would probably say like use your outlets, like as far as like your news, your wrestling media outlets. Like they have Fumi who they can go through to get stuff up on like places like FOW. I mean, they can like Jeremy, like if they want to reach out to you, I'm sure you could show them how to set up some Facebook ads. Like they can do something. Like they're way too big a company to be. Like, they don't know how to get the word out. Like that's inexcusable.
Yeah, man. Because we even mentioned it sometime on this show, and people were still asking. The wider fan base. I know not every New Japan fan listens to this show yet. So yeah, the wider fan base was asking when these shows were being up and how long they'd be up. And at least with Royal Quest, we know it was the Fight TV deal where it would be up in 3 days, and it is up now on New Japan World, as cleaned up as possible. They've obviously cut out the Fight TV guy in between matches. But the audio still not great. So yeah, they gotta. I don't know, constant social media blast, like you said, like advertising, or it just needs to be a thing where they they need to have a date ahead of time, like Super J Cup. Just say sometime in September. Okay, what, September 1st, 15th, like 30th, like when in September? And like you mentioned, there's so much wrestling going on that it's going to get left behind. People, they're going to be trying to watch NXT on USA now, 2 hours. AEW is going to be starting in October. This huge wrestling weekend we had with the UK TakeOver and these other pay-per-views. Super J Cup, not everybody watches everything like us as a Maniac in one day. People are going to break it up and watch it in different days. And the longer they wait to put Super J Cup up, it's going to get lost behind. And that's going to be a tournament of great matches that not a lot of people are probably going to see until, December, when people are like off on Christmas vacation and just kind of chilling on a lazy Saturday to try and catch up.
Yeah. And they're doing commentary on these shows for and like on Royal Quest, like Phantasmo and we're in the ring and all that. And they're like, yeah, the winner of the Super J Cup, El Phantasmo. And it's like, oh, great. Like, it's like it feels like, you ever heard of stories about how in WCW they would tape stuff ahead of time, like 8 weeks in advance. And then you're doing like, they would send guys out with the belt that hadn't actually won them yet and different stuff like that. I kind of got that vibe from it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I know so many people who have been trying to avoid Super J Cup spoilers, and if you try to watch this show live, next thing you know, you're getting Super J Cup spoilers thrown at you left and right. So it's just one of those things. Like I can understand maybe doing a house show, a special house show that's not really canon, and it goes up on New Japan World later, like the New Beginning and USA shows that happened earlier this year with the whole visa thing. Those were like house show quality shows, and they weren't really in canon for the most part. You want to put those up on New Japan World on delay, fine. But when you have a big tournament like the Super J Cup that has a lot of history and it's going to have a lot of implications on storyline going forward, you have this big Royal Quest show with several title matches and several angles that are leading into the Destruction Tour. It's like you got to have a better game plan on getting those up sooner and letting your fan base know when they're going to be up.
I mean, if New Japan wants to start handing out the bags to Keepin It Strong Style, I'm sure, some can be arranged where, we can help get the word out here and something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Everybody can just feel free to reach out to us, and we'll try and guide you as best as we can and what we know. Obviously, like I said earlier, we knew the deal with the Fight TV, but Super J Cup, the whole thing there is it has Kevin Kelly has to voice that over in order for it to get up on New Japan World. And I think it should have been one of those things where, like, okay, yes, Kevin definitely deserves a break. He was in Japan for over a month doing the G1 Climax. He was going to be doing the Royal Quest show. That's when they should have pulled out some of these B-team announcers that they have. Fly out Chris Charlton, Mabs Gillis, some of these other guys that they've tried out. Rocky Romero. I mean, Rocky was there in the tournament. These are guys, English guys that have done commentary that do a great job. It's like,
hell, Lanny Popo, bring him back.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Somebody, yeah, call, me and Young Boy, we'll fly up there and do commentary. But they should have used a B team and put it on New Japan World Live. I understand that Kevin Kelly is their lead voice, but hey, he's only one guy, and he had a hell of a time in July and August covering all these G1 shows and having only a few weeks off and then having to fly to the UK. So yeah, they have all these other commentaries loaded up. They should have used that one, put a team together, and got those shows airing live.
Yeah, man. They have a long way to go logistically still to be like a worldwide powerhouse, like as a company. Like the wrestling's there, the stories are there, but We're talking about the actual presentation of how people can enjoy what you see. Like, and those are just things that will turn people off that want to be snobs about it. We're willing to fight through that stuff because we're like hardcore, but not everyone is. So,
yeah. I have another question here from Reddit user Rambone Slam Pigs. He says, do you think management in New Japan is aware of how much their international expansion is limited by technical issues? Poorly translated and designed website, hard to navigate NJPW World app, limited platforms for the proprietary app, streaming issues on Fight, and lack of communications with international fans. Do they know and don't think fixing these issues are a priority, or do they just not understand how it impacts potential fans from joining in? A loaded question there. We've heard all kind of stuff about kind of how international shows and international expansion has been handled behind the scenes. Last week we kind of talked about the Michael Craven story. So I'm not quite sure if New Japan has a grasp on how the Western audience and how these other audiences that they're trying to reach in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, some of the hard times they have with their technology side of New Japan.
I'll say this. I'll give them credit for the stuff that they have done thus far. And that includes like setting up English commentary, a website that is good enough for the hardcores to dedicate and learn. And, and I think, it has to be, taken into account, like, there are things going on, as you mentioned, like with how the expansion is handled and who's doing what, where they just might not realize it. But it's a hell of a lot better than it was in 2015. Yeah. So maybe it's just like, maybe it's a situation where these are just still the growing pains that it establishes that, or that it takes to establish them as, a powerful multimedia company in the West and beyond.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head with the growing pains. I think, they are growing so fast and so rapidly, and they do have a diehard fan base in these different countries that they're trying to reach out into, and people love the product and want to consume it. And maybe it's one of those things like they can't keep up right now with the speed on which they're growing and getting everything set up. But like you mentioned, they have, New Japan World is so much better, I think, laid out than it was when it first came out. And we have English commentary. We have an English website that's updated often. We have an English Twitter. There's been a lot of effort to kind of reach out to the Western expansion and the Western audiences and the audiences across the world. I mean, we're getting more shows now here in the U.S. We've had shows in Australia. We just had a show in the UK. So I do think, they want to reach that audience, but I think it's going to take some more time for them to kind of get where they need to be across the board with technology.
Yeah, they gotta drop some yen and get the right folks in the right positions and trust them to lead it, and and I think we'll see better growth.
Yeah. Another question from Reddit user Brian James Interactive says, do you think Royal Quest will become a yearly event? The show is essentially sold out with just over 6,000, and such an amazing show that I think they can pull it again once a year. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see Royal Quest be kind of a yearly show. Obviously, the UK market loves New Japan. Guys like Suzuki and Ishii and Tanahashi and Zack Sabre are all wildly over there, and the UK audience, you can tell by the crowd chants. They follow the product. They know, even for the Young Lions, they knew everything. So I think having more shows in the UK would be great. I would like to see just the broadcast of it be done better.
Nah, the UK don't get nothing. Sorry. Blame Boris Johnson. No, I'm just playing. I think it would be tight. And, the more that New Japan can become a global company, the better look it is for them to be able to have people, because they have stars that they can headline with in those countries. We know Okada and Tanahashi are gods over there. We know Suzuki's is a double god over there. And then in addition to, them having Ospreay and Sabre, so you can rotate those matchups over the next couple of years however you want. And, in addition to anybody else that they may pick up, like El Phantasmo, for example. So they've got guys. It reminds me of Fire Pro. It literally does. When you're in the Fire promoter world, and how it works is, you have your company that you run, like me, I have the Florida Wrestling Alliance, and we grew and we're huge in America right now. And right now we're trying to break into Japan. So what did I do? I have a bunch of stars from Japan that I have that are really popular in Japan, so I can start running shows and headlining with them. And it's the same like concept here. You've got guys that are, your Japanese guys that are really popular. You mix them with those homegrown Euro stars. And it's literally idiot proof. Like video games are replicating this. So yeah, I would love to see them like continue that, to give them another spot in the world. And the partnership with RevPro, as long as RevPro doesn't lose their mind and do things that they were doing in the main event with Star and Osprey, they don't kill their credibility off and get swallowed up by New Japan in a different aspect. Like as far as how Ring of Honor was swallowed, I think Rev Pro can benefit from this as well.
Definitely. All right, so let's start talking about the show now. So the show opened up with a 6-man tag. We had Rocky Romero, Sho, and Roppongi 3K defeating the team of Ryusuke Taguchi, Ren Narita, and Shota Umino. Nice opening 8-minute match. Your basic good young lion opener. It was just awesome how over Shota Umino is now. Got a lot of shooter chants throughout the match. So clearly his time with Jon Moxley has helped, get him over with the fan base, and obviously UK fans are watching because those shooter chants are strong.
They're gonna have to make a shooter T-shirt and then just put a gun on it, like.
But yeah, this was good. Show ends up getting the win here with the Project Ciampa backbreaker. So then we followed up with tag action. We had Juice Robinson teaming up with Kota Ibushi, the G1 winner, take on the Bullet Club team of Yujiro Takahashi and Hikuleo. Juice and Kota end up getting the win after Kota hits a Bomaye and Kamagoye on Hikuleo. Thought this was a solid match. I mean, obviously, I think everybody expected Juice and Kota to win. But it was good seeing Hikuleo. He's kind of been in the Rev Pro in the UK the last couple of months, kind of on a mini excursion, and I think he's really leaned out, and he's really starting to kind of get a hang of this thing and looking better in the ring.
Yeah, man. Hikuleo, it looks like he's lost 15 or 20 pounds. In addition, he has a great look. He's I hope he essentially, whenever Fale retires, Hikuleo's the one to retire him, or just literally step into his spot, because he looks like he's worth a lot more even already. It was nice to see the Golden Juice, aka PP, Team PP, and the birth of that team, and their clownery at the end of the match. But yeah, Hikuleo is a great look. He has great size, and I'm very excited to see what he ends up becoming.
Yeah, definitely. I think if he sticks with it and keeps progressing at the rate that he has, I think that he could, be something. And I think he's definitely a guy, you have Bad Luck Fale, who seems like they're kind of phasing out. He's a guy that can kind of step into that Bad Luck Fale role in the Bullet Club and kind of become that menacing monster that gets the big wins over top guys like Okada and Naito, and it's kind of a menacing threat in your New Japan Cups and your G1 climaxes, and he's a big monster that people have to defeat.
Yeah, I think they just need to send him to the Lance Archer big man camp for a couple weeks, and then run it back that way.
Yeah, just start flipping, doing dives. Oh man.
Yes. Can't lose.
But speaking of flips and dives, the following matchup was the newly formed team of the Birds of Prey, Will Ospreay and Robbie Eagles, taking on the current IWGP Junior Tag Champs, the Bone Soldier Taiji Ishimori and El Phantasmo. This was a non-title junior tag match. What'd you think about this one, Rich?
I thought this was an electric 11-minute match. I really enjoyed this, and what I really liked about it was there was no obvious pin eater here. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if it was, going to be Phantasmo beating Eagles or, Ishimori taking the pin. Phantasm was taking the pin. I didn't think Ospreay would take the pin, but it was cool to see Ospreay and Eagles with the matching outfits. I'm with this. These two should wrestle. Like, these two teams should wrestle again a lot. Hopefully they do. And you think Will's going to be in the Super Junior Tag League?
He might as well. I mean, he's been in almost every tournament there is this year. Might as well do that too.
Yeah, why not? And I thought it was excellent. So always like seeing Taiji Ishimori work, and him and Robbie Eagles were fighting each other, and they just looked like two angry 10th graders just fighting it out, fighting their little hearts out. And we got to see Josh's favorite guy, El Phantasmo, out there, which was funny. And it looks like they're set up for a tag title match in the future, probably at Destruction, right?
Yeah, and we'll talk about a lot of Destruction matches were announced earlier this morning. We'll talk about those, but yeah, they're going to have a future junior tag title match coming up, and a junior title match coming up too. But like you said, yeah, this is one of those matches where you didn't quite know who was going to be the pin eater, and it could have gone either way, because I mean, you could have had Phantasmo kind of build momentum up going into a junior title shot, or you could set up Ospreay and Eagles as challengers for the junior tag team titles, and that's the route they went. That's the route I thought they were going to go. But yeah, this was a great junior tag match. Ospreay and Eagles gelled really well together, got the win with a double Spanish fly off the top rope onto Ishimori, and then post-match they made the challenge for the IWGP Junior Tag Team Championship. So that's going to be great to see that match once again for the title match. We had a question from one of our listeners who's actually there live at the Copper Box. Matthew Tawate says, is Ospreay even better in tag action than epic singles?
I would disagree, because he's just been that damn awesome as a single. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen enough Will Ospreay matches. The only ones that really jump out to me prior to this was when him and Ishii, and then him and Tanahashi fought the Golden Lovers. Of course, both of those were excellent, and this was excellent too. But I mean, I think to say that would be a slight to his singles work.
Yeah, I mean, Ospreay's just great general, whether he's in a singles match, a tag match, a 4-way, a 3-way, a 6-way dance, whatever you put him in, he's going to make sure he's a star, and he's going to just be great in any situation you put him in. So yeah, he's just a phenomenal wrestler. And so I'm excited that he's a guy he's exciting to watch. He excels no matter where you put him.
Hey, and the tag match, it'll save him a little bit, because we just got to get this man to Wrestle Kingdom now at this rate.
Yeah. Also had a question from @KarenNerdsOut on Twitter. She says, with Birds of Prey challenging for the tag titles, could this mean singles runs for others in the junior division?
Who are these others, Jeremy?
Well, I think the hard thing is Will is still the junior heavyweight champion. If he had already lost the belt and he was focusing mainly on tags, there might be room for somebody to get kind of pushed up towards the top. But as still a champion, he's obviously still going to be featured as a singles in his division. But definitely you got guys like Sho and Yo, who are again our tag team, but they've been kind of working on pushing those guys. And I feel like two other guys have been pushing are the Taiji Ishimori and ELP. So it's kind of these guys are kind of mixed in a tag and singles at the same time.
Yeah, they might have to import somebody, but I don't know if you import Dragon Lee again, because he was just the champion. And I don't know how much he's going to be around. Maybe you do your Despy, and maybe you go with either Sho or Yo, I would think, at this point, because there's no more Shingo. So do we hold out for Hiromu here?
Right, yeah. I still think Ospreay's going all the way to Wrestle Kingdom with the championship, and if Hiromu's healthy, I think that would be an excellent match to have at Wrestle Kingdom. We also, like you mentioned, El Desperado. He's been out on the shelf with a broken jaw. We haven't seen him for a few months, so he would be a great guy to kind of get back in the fold when he's healthy. It's going to be kind of interesting to see who's going to kind of step up now in the junior division. Now you mentioned, Shingo is gone heavyweight, and I can see Ospreay kind of going more heavyweight next year too. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see who's going to kind of step up and be the new faces of the junior division, especially once Ospreay is no longer in it.
Yeah, man. The junior division seems like it's a revolving door because there's always a star to be elevated or come out of it or leaving it. So we will see what happens. I would anticipate someone fresh, though.
Yeah. So following that match, we had another tag match with the current Intercontinental Champion Tetsuya Naito teaming up with Sonata, take on the Bullet Club team of Jay White and Chase Owens. I thought this was a fine match, nothing too over the top here. Little 3-star affair, kind of building up to the Jay White and Naito IC title match that's coming up.
Yeah, gentlemen's 3. I mean, Naito was really over here. Sonata got a good reaction as well. Jay White is, no matter where you go in the world, people hate him. So, just nothing to really, break down here.
Yeah. There was a post-match angle. Jay White attacked Naito post-match, hit Sonata with a chair, but then eventually Naito came back and hit the Destino on Jay White and covered him, had the crowd count to 3, and then he threw Jay White out of the ring, stood tall. So, definitely we're getting closer to that Intercontinental title match towards the end of this month. So it's going to be I
was shocked to see,
Good.
I was shocked to see some of the LIJ guys helping each other in a beatdown because we know LIJ dudes don't have each other's back, and we know from Jericho how he was wearing them out, and
Yeah, man. So because obviously Evil, Bushi weren't there, Shingo wasn't there, so that was it. There wasn't even an option for help. So luckily Naito was able to kind of get things back in order.
Right.
So next up, we had our first title match of the evening for the IWGP Tag Team Championships. The champions, the Guerrillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tangaloa, defend the titles against Aussie Open, Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher. Aussie Open, Australian tag team that wrestles a lot in the UK and Rev Pro and on the indie scenes. They won the Road to Royal Quest Tag Team Tournament that Rev Pro was doing to get the shot to face GOD here. We've seen Aussie Open a couple times now during WrestleMania weekends, and these guys are a great tag team. A lot of energy, high-flying intensity, and I thought they were a great team to come up here and face off against GOD, and this ended up being a great match. There was dueling chants for at least 5 minutes during or 2 or 3 minutes in the opening of this match, dueling chants for GOD and Aussie Open, just showing you how over Aussie Open is in the UK and Guerrillas of Destiny. These guys have been having a great year in and out of New Japan, being over wherever they go. They've been feuding with the Briscoe brothers in Ring of Honor and having some good matches with them and being super over there. And now they're here in the UK getting another great reaction. When we saw them in Dallas during the G1, even in that opening match against Roppongi 3K, they got a huge reaction. So GOD is getting over, stepping their game up, and they looked really great in this tag match here.
Yeah, something's happening with GOD right now where every time you see them, you're just like, these dudes are fucking awesome. They're cool. You don't want to boo them unless they're involved in some flagrantly foul stuff, like when they run a bunch of bota or something. But yeah, hell of a year for GOD. What's up to Tama Tonga? And I think that they are. I would think they're a candidate for tag team of the year, before everyone else gets accounted for. Which, looking around the world, I mean, who besides GOD are you talking about? The Bucks have not, they've not wrestled a full year like these guys have, and just every time I see them wrestle, I think they, from the entrance music to everything, just the complete package as a tag team for me. And Aussie Open was good too, and they're over to the UK audience. This is a perfect place to use them. And it ain't like there's a million teams running around in the heavyweight division in New Japan. Why not bring them to the World Tag League?
Yeah, I think Aussie Open would definitely be a great fit for the World Tag League. You know, I was actually saying last week, like, why not, you know, flip the belts here and put them on them, bring them in, start a fresh rivalry, because even though God is having a great year all around, there really hasn't been that tag or rivalry for them here in New Japan. They've, you know, kind of been back and forth with Evil and Sonata, and that's pretty much it. I mean, we've lost Killer Elite Squad with Dave Boy Smith Jr. leaving New Japan. We don't have War Machine anymore. You know, we're kind of grasping for straws here for heavyweight tag teams to go up against God, and it's just one of those things where you kind of think, let's just combine these heavyweight and junior tag divisions, just have one overall tag division, because then you could have God continue to run it with Roppongi 3K, God against Birds of Prey. You know, you can do some interesting matchups with some of the juniors and heavyweights instead of, you know, just trying to find just one team and killing that match of death over and over again with these teams. I mean, like, if it's going to be God and the Evil and Sonata again at Wrestle Kingdom, it's going to be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels like we're just like, we're killing time until the Evil and Sonata get put back together, and it's like, yeah, go do it again. But we'll see. Hopefully not.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how World Tag League is done this year and who they're going to bring in, because, you know, we've had some departures and things have shaken up. So it'll be interesting to see who they're going to bring in this year for World Tag League. So then,
man.
Next up, we had the Never Openweight Championship match with Kenta taking on your boy, the current champ at the time, Tomohiro Ishii.
I can't believe this. This man, Kenta. This whole Kenta. This man beat Tomohiro Ishii for the you never want to mess with Tomohiro Ishii championship belt. Obviously, this match has a lot of controversy around it, but this was a war. And, you know, Tomohiro Ishii is now freed up to go ahead and challenge for IWGP title now. So I guess I got what I wanted.
Yeah, no longer holding on to that never title. That opens him up for bigger things. Yeah, but this was a
mini tournament. Yeah, January 4th and 5th.
Yeah,
be there.
He could be the fourth guy in the tournament. You know, beat Naito, then beat Okada. Tomohiro Ishii, your double champion on January 5th.
Yes.
But yeah, this was a hard-hitting affair here, and, you know, expecting that, especially with Ishii and Kenta. And these guys are just rocking each other with slaps and chops and elbows and strikes. And one point during the match, we had Kenta. I think he landed on his head after a German suplex, and seems like he had a concussion.
Yeah, and we were all watching together, and we were like, whoa, his face looked like it just, like, dropped. Like, when we saw him, it was just like, whoa, he's rocked. And I kept saying that over and over. This guy's rocked. Like, because this is what Ishii does, right? Kenta, I don't think he's had anybody hitting him like that in the last 5 years, you know, to the way Ishii does. And, you know, there's a lot to really, like, break into about this match. I loved it, and, you know, I wasn't thrilled with the winner because, you know, I don't rock with the Kenta stuff like that, but they obviously got something they want to do with them. But I think we should get into these questions because this is actually, like, bigger than the match.
Yeah. So first we had a question from Reddit user ablue3. Said, do you guys think that Kenta will be IWGP Heavyweight Champion in the future? That's going to be a hard no for me. Kenta.
Hell no.
Kenta, he's been doing good since he's returned to Japan, but obviously it's not, you know, Noah Kenta that everybody loved, you know, in the early 2000s. This is kind of a Kenta that's not in the peak of his career anymore. He's going to be on the decline, and with the current crop of talent that New Japan has, I don't think Kenta has what it takes right now to kind of carry that mantle of being the IWGP champion and having a run. Maybe he can have a title match, but I don't see him going forward as a champion.
Definitely a title match, and if Tomohiro Ishii can't sniff the IWGP title, I don't know on what planet Kenta would sniff the IWGP title. So.
Yeah, man. The next question from our buddy Dan Coffin. He says, Kenta was clearly hurt in his match with Ishii. Why didn't they stop the match early?
Because they're bad with stuff like that. You know, I am a person that, you know, I watch the wrestling and I'm like, I'm not really concerned for what these dudes do to each other because it's all in the game. Like it's a physical sport is how I look at it, right? And I do think the referees need to be trained to look for that stuff more, but maybe there's a mentality in New Japan that's just like, hey, you got to finish the match, and then we'll see what's up with you.
Right, and I still know it's one of those things if they kind of, I don't know how they train the referees. Like, I'm not sure if their referees are kind of looking out for that thing, especially in these strong style matches where guys are taking kind of heavy hits and are selling. I mean, we've seen strong style matches where it looks like guys get knocked out, and you know Ishii's a great guy for selling. He kind of bumbles around. You could be confused and think Ishii has a concussion and stop the match early, and then that would kind of, you know, totally ruin a good Ishii match, especially if he's not really concussed. So I think it's just one of those hard things to look out for in these strong style matches, and I'm not sure kind of if their referees are trained up on the signs to kind of look out for. But I mean, clearly watching at home to us, you can clearly see that Kenta was concussed. I mean, there were times where he would just go for moves and wasn't fully in it. Took a long time to get up. We saw after the match, after he won, he had a hard time even climbing up the ropes. And then we've heard the reports on Wrestling Observer Radio from Dave Meltzer that he was taken to a hospital after this match to be checked on. We don't have a full report on exactly the diagnosis of what the checkup came out. We don't know if he did have a concussion or not. I'm pretty sure it was just based on his movements, how he got rocked, how he was just walking after the match, and yeah, he looked out of it.
Yeah, and on a more joking note, it sounds like a who really won scenario. Like, but yeah, hopefully Kenta's fine in the long run, and this isn't something that is going to alter his career. But this guy has had an injury history that has not been kind over him. He wrestled a really hard style for a really long time. He reprogrammed his body to work in WWE, and then, you know, he's jumping back here. This type of stuff can happen. So it's amazing that nothing happened to Moxley like that. You know, when he came in, what he ended up with was a little, like, you know, out of his hands. But yeah, this is part of the game. Dudes are going to get concussed.
Yeah.
You know, it'll always happen.
Yeah, and I think in New Japan, I think the referees are probably more, they lean more on the wrestlers, what they can say they can do. Because I mean, I did see Marty Asami like talking to Kenta at points, but it seemed like Kenta was saying to him that he's fine. So I think the referees are going to kind of leave it in the wrestler's hands. And if Kenta says he's fine, he's going to keep the match going. And maybe if Kenta wasn't responding to him, maybe he would have stopped it. Not 100% sure. Again, I'm not sure what their protocol is or how they train these guys. But it's just one of those things. If the wrestler is going to argue with you and say he can go and is going to continue the match, then I guess maybe it's kind of out of the referee's hand at that point. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that I don't like what WWE does normally is really good. Like if someone's concussed, they'll stop the match. You know, in most cases, it just comes down to communication. I think they have to be, you know, and a lot of this comes down to athletes' pride. They don't want to say they're hurt, and, you know, it's a tough business and stuff like that. But at some point, your brain's your brain, and if you're whoopy and you don't get it right back, you need to probably signal for help because we don't want anyone to die in the ring. But as I mentioned, this will always happen. So knowing that is going to happen, New Japan just has to take an extra step like, hey, you know, this is what we need to look for. This is, you know, the protocol. We will sacrifice the match. Like, we're not married to Gato's booking that badly. So I think the deal was Kenta was winning a title, and there was nothing that was going to stop him from doing it.
Yeah, and clearly there's obviously big plans going forward. We're kind of plays into our next question that comes from Ricky from the Ricky and Clyde Wrestling Show. He says, with Kenta winning the Never Openweight title and Shibata's profile now back on the NJPW website, do we get Kenta versus Shibata now? So now we've heard kind of our takes and Josh's takes on all these Shibata rumors and the potential Shibata comeback. We haven't heard your thoughts on it, Rich. What are you thinking about all this Shibata comeback rumors? And should they do this Kenta versus Shibata match?
Now, I've been thinking he was going to come back the whole time. Like, eventually, he would get healed. And I've heard Josh, in the past weeks talk about the subdermal hematoma surgery, and that does sound like a handful, to come back from. But that dude's not in that kind of shape for nothing, I think. Yeah. And we know he's taking bumps. We know he's obviously doing physical angles now. If they can, say, hey, y'all can only hit each other's chest, and, Shibata, maybe he's not the Shibata of old, but he damn sure looked pretty good. He looked physical doing that last angle. I would like to see it. I would like to, just for the, the inspirational story that it will be, and a lot of it's I remember when Daniel Bryan was out, I was like, man, I just want this dude to achieve this goal he has. And Shibata obviously has a goal to wrestle again. I'd like to see him achieve that and hopefully not harm himself irreparably in the process. If that happens, Shibata's made that decision. We have to I'm not a doctor. I'm not I'm not somebody that's going to be like a safety Nazi. I'm not. So if Shibata wants to pursue that will, make him happy and fulfill him and give him a goal and something to live for and strive to. Dude's been a wrestler his whole life. I'm not going to sit on the podcast and try to, opine to take it away from him. I know that, injuries, like the injury he had in particular was he went out almost like a John Henry in a sense. He ran into this wall and collapsed on the field at the end of his greatest moment, essentially. And that match is a big memory for a lot of people. But you got to think, what's this guy still doing it for? Why is he in the dojo that much? Why is he, in that phenomenal shape? Why are they letting him do these angles like this? I feel like it's happening, and if Shibata's down with it, I'm down with it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, once Shibata, became the coach of the LA Dojo, and they did that first set of documentaries on the LA Dojo, Shibata said that he was trained to come back, and a lot of people kind of laughed that off and, think it was never happening. But obviously in Shibata's mind, he was dead serious. He wants to come back, and like you mentioned, he's in phenomenal shape. Obviously not only training the LA Young Lions, but training himself in that LA Dojo and getting back into in-ring shape. And it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be up to the doctor. Like you said, we're not doctors. I mean, we can watch the YouTube videos. We can read about the symptoms and read about what happened to him. But at the end of the day, if a doctor clears him and says that Katsuyori Shibata, you are clear to wrestle again in a New Japan Pro Wrestling ring, then hey, the doctor said he's good, then let's see it. I mean, this is a money match here. They have 2 nights at the Dome to sell out. They've did a great job with the angle of Kenta turning on him and joining the Bullet Club and Shibata trying to stop it. So they got a money match here, a money feud, and if the doctors allow it, then I say go for it.
Right. Yeah, I'm totally with it. And beat him like you own him, Kenta. Or excuse me, Shibata. Beat Kenta like you own him.
But yeah, so Kenta did win this match here, winning the Never Openweight title. We had interference from Guerrillas of Destiny, a lot of shenanigans, hitting a magic killer on Ishii. Kenta getting a near fall off of that, and then eventually Kenta was able to hit the go to sleep and get the win and become the new Never Openweight champion. So it's going to be interesting to see where things go with Kenta and Shibata and Ishii.
Yeah, he couldn't beat my dog straight up. He had to cheat.
Had to call his homeboys.
Yeah.
So next up, we had our next title match of the evening. We had Hiroshi Tanahashi challenging Zack Sabre Jr. for the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship match. These guys have been having a great feud this year. They are 3-3 head-to-head going into this matchup. We've seen them at MSG. We saw that match live. They've been wrestling each other in the G1. These guys have been going back and forth and just having a great collection of matches this year, and this was another one. I don't think it was the best match that they've had against each other this year, but I still thought it was pretty good with Tanahashi. The game plan, always trying to keep up with Sabre's mat wrestling and trying to avoid the submissions, and of course Sabre trying to get as many submissions as possible. And Tanahashi always seems to find a way to kind of get Zack to end up wrestling his style of match, allowing Tanahashi to hit some of his strikes and bigger moves, and moves like the Sling Blade and the Dragon Suplex, and setting up to be able to hit the high fly flow and become the new Rev Pro champion.
Yeah, he's the new prime minister of the UK, and I can't think of a better guy to put your belt on than Hiroshi Tanahashi. And him and Sabre, they've had a rivalry this year. I haven't been enthralled with all their matches. I like to joke that they will just lay on the mat with each other and rub on each other and, and hold each other. But this wasn't that. This was really entertaining, I thought, and it was good to see. I think Josh called it last week. It's like, Joe, just put it on him to get Tanahashi's name in your title history. It's unique. And it gives Tanahashi more reason to wrestle in England more often. So if you're a Rev Pro, you do this 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, I mean, the Rev Pro Championship is a championship that is treated very seriously, and they care a lot about the lineage of that championship. They've had Minoru Suzuki has been a multiple-time champion. Tomohiro Ishii, they brought in guys like Keith Lee and Matt Riddle in the past to challenge for that championship. So they hold that championship in high regard. So having a guy like Hiroshi Tanahashi being added to the lineage of that championship is a great thing. If they want, they can bring him back into the UK, which actually that kind of led into our question from Reddit user Brian James Interactive, asking, will Tanahashi become British champ? With Tanahashi becoming British champion, will that mean him appearing more in the UK in the near future?
I would think so.
Yeah, I guess so. We're talking about this in a little bit. So they are going to have a rematch with Tanahashi and Sabre during the Destruction Tour for this title. So it could be one of these things where they flip the belt back real quick, back on Sabre. Maybe the
Harley Race Ric Flair reign, huh?
Yeah. They wanted to add Tanahashi to the lineage, give Tanahashi a big win in the UK. We've kind of been seeing the downfall of Sabre this year with all of the losses he ate in the G1 and being distracted with Boris Johnson and Brexit. So I can easily see Sabre winning the title back and going back to being champion. Or, they could have Tanahashi beat Sabre again, and you do bring Tanahashi over to Rev Pro like you've done with Suzuki and Ishii, and have him work some of your bigger shows.
Yeah, man. Have Tanahashi wrestle every bum they can line up in the UK. Feed them all to the ace.
Go Ace. We might need another rant if Tanahashi goes on a lengthy Rev Pro run.
I'll work on that.
Next question from Reddit user Viking Pain says, earlier in the year it seemed like they were building up a possible Tanahashi Jericho match at Wrestle Kingdom 14, but with Jericho now the AEW champion and Tanahashi the Rev Pro champion, did plans change?
I don't think plans changed. I don't think there were plans at this point. I think it was a situation, like if you guys remember, when Jericho was here the first time in New Japan, and then he jumped Naito the night after he wrestled Kenny. And there weren't plans in place for him to come back. He just did something to leave the door open. I think that's what this was. And with those title situations, Viking Pain, that you mentioned, I don't think they're sending the AEW champion over there to lose. Like if Jericho goes over, he's winning. And I don't think Tanahashi's losing to Jericho right now.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how guys like Jericho and Moxley and even Omega, if they ever wanted to use him, or would be booked going forward in New Japan. And like you mentioned with the whole Naito thing, they kind of shot the angle in case something could happen in the future. And I think that's exactly what they did with Jericho and Tanahashi. They shot that angle. There was probably no deal in place for a future match, but they shot that angle just in case things work out and they could bring Jericho in for Wrestle Kingdom, that they could call back to this angle and do Jericho and Tanahashi. And I'm sure that Gato would love to have Jericho on that card. Again, we have 2 domes. They got to fill up 2 domes. So having a star like Chris Jericho on one of those nights, or even both of those nights, would be great for that show, and we would see an increase in New Japan World subscriptions like we've been seeing with every Jericho appearance. But yeah, him being the AEW champion definitely is going to change things, especially with the politics with New Japan and AEW right now, things not being great. And like you said, yeah, Tony Khan's not going to send over his new world champion over there to job. So right now, things are looking kind of dicey whether or not Jericho will appear on that show.
Right.
Or if he does appear, he's going to be in a match that he can win.
Right. Like, and if you're New Japan and you feel the way you do about AEW, you don't feed your legend to him. Like, you don't. Like that would just be dumb.
Right. Unless it's one of those things where like Tanahashi wants to do it. We know Tanahashi is, he loves guys like Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels. In New Orleans, when we were there at WrestleCon and he found out that Shawn Michaels was there, he was like marking out and wanted to meet Shawn Michaels. And I'm sure Chris Jericho is a guy that he respects and wants to get in the ring with. So that could be a match where Tanahashi's like, I want it. I don't care if I win or lose. I just want to have the opportunity to wrestle a guy that I thought I'd probably never wrestle in Chris Jericho and have a classic match of him.
Also, Tanahashi, the much younger man in this match. How often does that get to be said at this point with the Ace? Yeah,
not often. And he might not be the Rev Pro champion going into that match, and he probably won't win any other titles before Wrestle Kingdom. So if you do Jericho and Tanahashi, they could put him in a position where it makes sense for Tanahashi to lose. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how that develops, seeing if they even contact Jericho, if he'll be on these shows, or if he does end up being on the shows, who he's going to end up facing.
Yeah, running for the AEW title. I'd love to see it.
and have Tanahashi win.
Oh, man, that'd be great.
Have the Ace come into AEW.
Yeah, they come over here and give it back to Kenny. Yeah. Kenny can ever win a couple matches,
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with these guys. And I don't think Jericho would be losing the AEW championship before Wrestle Kingdom. So I definitely think he'll be going into January as a champion. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, man.
So then the main event of this show, we had the IWGP Heavyweight Championship as Kazuchika Okada, the champion, defending against the King, Minoru Suzuki. And man, this was a great main event to this show. Okada and Suzuki just have great chemistry with each other, and all their matches they've had have been great. This was another great match, and Suzuki was just a monster in this match. Very dominant and was brutalizing Okada. I mean, there was that one striking sequence where he would keep striking Okada. Okada would fall. He would pick him back up, keep striking him again. Okada would fall, pick him back up, strike him again, and then finally hit a big hard slap and knocked Okada down and raised his hands in the air like he won the match. That was great.
Yeah. Like, Suzuki's like, he's Japanese Jericho for me at this rate. And like the way he just does like different things, and he just feels different. And it's a testament to him and his conditioning and his dedication to the craft that he's over in his 50s, I believe at this point, 51, maybe 52. He still comes off credible. He still has an aura about him. He's not an old man. Like, you don't even think of him as an old man. And everyone just has to respect him. Like Okada can't roll out here and just mail it in, and not that Okada would do that anyway. And I enjoyed the match. There was some technical difficulties when I was watching this, so I feel like I missed a portion of it. But towards the end, crowd was into every single thing that was happening. I don't think anyone thought Suzuki would win, but this was a fine addition to their catalog.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like, going in this match, everybody was pretty much sure that Okada was retaining, Suzuki wouldn't win, but still the crowd was into every near fall, and Suzuki made it very believable at points all throughout this match that he could win the match. And there were times where he would get so close to being able to drop Okada on his head with that gotch pile driver. And it was a very great, 34-minute match, back and forth. Suzuki looking very strong. And I thought they did a great job building this match up. I mean, Suzuki missed a whole G1 tournament in order to build this matchup. That was the whole story. Suzuki being frustrated that he was left out of the G1, wanted to murder somebody for not being in the tournament. All throughout the undercard of this tournament, he was just wrecking havoc and winning every undercard match with that gotch pile driver. And then on the last night, pinning Okada and proving that he's still the king and he should be a guy that's in the G1 and a guy that's main eventing and going for the title. And so, having him miss a G1 just added so much more to this match and add to the story. And I thought it was a great build, a great matchup, and a great way to end this show. Like we mentioned earlier, the UK crowds really love Suzuki, and so they were really into both these guys here. And, the UK crowds, they really add, a whole new energy to these matches, and they just really elevated this to, to all-time height.
Yeah, man, shout out to the UK crowd. Like, y'all showed love for New Japan the right way. We saw the songs when we were watching NXT TakeOver UK, which is cool. But for, as compared to America, like, all the crowds around the world, like, come to respect this promotion. Like, New Japan doesn't waste anyone's time. New Japan doesn't do anything. So, whenever New Japan goes to these parts of the world, I think the fans kind of give it back. And that was nice to see that.
Yeah, the crowd was just rocking all night and totally into everything. So yeah, great crowd. That's why earlier I said I would definitely love them to come back here and do more shows in the UK, especially if you're gonna get that type of energy from the crowd. We had a question here from our Twitter follower Jack Dean at Undoubtedly Dean on Twitter. It says, where would you place Royal Quest Okada versus Suzuki in the anthology of their matches? This was a great match. And I mean, Okada and Suzuki always have great matches. I'm not sure if this is their best one they've ever had against each other. I would probably have to go back and watch. I mean, I really liked the anniversary match that they had in the rain last summer, and also their match. I think they had a match in the G1 last year. I believe that was really good also. So these guys just have really great chemistry, but I think I'd have to kind of go back and watch some of their previous stuff to see where this one falls in place.
Yeah, same here. Like, I think their best one is that New Beginning match where Suzuki just beat the hell out of Okada's legs the whole time. This wasn't that, I don't think, but this is one of the better ones. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, this had a great pace, and Suzuki, like I mentioned, just looked like a monster and was killing Okada with those strikes and submissions. So yeah, once again, did a great job building this matchup. Thought it was a great title defense for Okada. And of course, post-match, we had Sonata coming out to challenge Okada for the title. Sonata pinned Okada in the G1. So coming out saying that, he deserves to be a champion. Yeah, I actually went back and listened to the promo today, but both of them were actually speaking quite a bit of English. And Sonata saying, the next time you see me, Okada, I'll be the IWGP champion. So that leads into our next question from Reddit user Boyd101. Do you think Sonata is an interesting opponent for Okada? Feels like it will be a decent match, but no change. Okada doesn't win. No chance. Okada
all their matches have been, all their matches have been awesome. It's just like they're doing it again. Like, but we knew that was happening from the G1. Totally with you, Boyd. I think it'll be a great match, just like all the rest of them. I love Sonata. I love Okada. Okada ain't losing no belt to no Sonata, with Wrestle Kingdom looming.
Right, and that's the one thing I'm kind of questioning here. It's like, all right, yes, I get it. Sonata got the big win in the G1. Like, personally, like, I think I would have saved the title match for next year. Because, again, it's one of those situations where it's like the Suzuki match. Like, yes, they're going to tell a great story. They're going to build it up. But going into it, there's going to be no way that Okada's going to lose right before Wrestle Kingdom, especially once again, you got to fill 2 domes. Okada has been the biggest star that the company has, and with him as a champion, they've been seeing their best attendance, best revenue. Like, this guy's a money-drawing star, and I have a hard time believing that you're going to go into a double Tokyo Dome Wrestle Kingdom with him not featured as a champion on both nights. So with this upcoming Sonata title match, I don't think Okada's losing. I mean, like you mentioned, it's going to be a great match. All their matches have been great this year, and this will be another great match. But at the same time, it's like, this is what, the third time?
Fourth.
The fourth time they're wrestling this year. Honestly, I think this match needs to go to a draw to protect Okada and just protect intrigue in this match.
Yeah, I think a draw would be awesome because, A, you set one up for whenever, right? Say, like, if you ever want to go to Sonata and have him win, say if it was, you know, Dominion or excuse me, not Dominion, like Sakura Genesis or something like that, he could shock Okada for the title there, right? If it's like Okada like goes through or whoever goes through, like it could be even like Naito, it could be Ibushi even, and you'd be like, yo, this dude had a draw, like he still, you know, has a little bit of claim on this. Yeah, totally with you on that. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I think that kind of needs to be the route they go in order to build intrigue in that match. Because like Okada beats him again, it's like, what was the point of even giving him that win and trying to tell this rivalry and this story? It's like you could have had anybody else in that A block beat Okada and get a title match. Like, you know, they could have done Will Ospreay. They could have
did Lance Archer.
Right, you could have done Lance Archer, give Lance Archer a big title match. So I think if this is going to be a program they're going to keep going to in the future, I think Sonata needs to get the draw here and kind of build a story up like Okada is losing his edge against Sonata. And like you mentioned, have Sonata pull up a big upset maybe at one of these New Beginnings or Sakura Genesis or something like that if Okada is going to leave the Tokyo Dome as a champion.
Yeah.
So that's going to wrap things up for our Royal Quest preview. So this coming up week on New Japan, we have the Road to Destruction Tour that's going to be kicking off, and the Young Lions Cup is going to be kicking off. So on September 4th, we're going to have Shooter Umino taking on Clark Connors, and Tsuji is going to be taking on Alex Coughlin. On September 5th, we're going to have Ren Narita taking on Carl Fredericks, and Uemura taking on Richards from the Fale Dojo. Then on September 6th, we're going to have Connors taking on Fredericks and Richards taking on Coughlin. And then on September 8th, we're going to have Umino against Narita, Tsuji against Uemura. And then we'll have the big Yuji Nagata anniversary match with Nagata, Nakanishi, Kojima, Tenzan, and Liger taking on the Bullet Club team of Jado, Yujiro, Tangaloa, Tamatonga, and Bad Luck Fale. You going to be checking out any of the Young Lions Cup, Rich?
I believe I will. I'll be definitely looking for the finals. I definitely hope we are. It's all round robin, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be tuned into the Fredericks Umino match. I definitely want to see Umino and Narita. Hell, I want to see Tsuji because he's like, he looks like he's been imported from like 1979 or something. So, you know, I'm down with it. I do want to watch like as much of this as I can if I have the time.
Yeah, I think, this Young Lions Cup is going to be great. Like we mentioned last week, all these Young Lions are great, and these are going to be some great singles matches, and it's going to give New Japan fans a reason to really tune into these Road 2 shows because, you know, the full cards for the Road 2 shows haven't been released yet, but it's going to probably be a lot of multi-man matches building up to some of the bigger matches on the bigger Destruction shows. So these Young Lions Cup matches are going to bring some intrigue and awareness to these Road 2 shows. So we're going to do some news, and then we'll get into some of the off-topic questions that you guys ask, and then the recommended match of the week. So first up in the news, we've had some stars confirmed for the Fighting Spirit Unleashed tour that's coming up in September. From the main unit, we have Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kota Ibushi. From Chaos, we have Kazuchika Okada, Tomohiro Ishii, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi. Okada will only be appearing in Lowell and New York, will not be in Philly. And LIJ, all 5 LIJ members will be there. Naito, Evil, Sanada, Shingo, and Bushi. And then from the Bullet Club, we will have Jay White, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and Kenta. So looking forward to seeing what matches will be announced, and hopefully some of these shows will be broadcasted live or maybe not that long on tape delay up on New Japan World.
Access, we calling you. Please don't leave it up to Fight TV.
Yes, please. Our friends at Access, please, I hope they get the rights to this thing.
Yes.
So then, like I mentioned earlier, this morning we had some big matches announced for the Destruction Tour and for King of Pro Wrestling. So for the Destruction Tour and Destruction in Beppu, we're going to have the rematch with Hiroshi Tanahashi defending the Rev Pro British title against Zack Sabre Jr. Then in Kagoshima, we're going to have ELP and Taiji Ishimori of the Bullet Club defending the IWGP Junior Tag titles against the Birds of Prey, Will Ospreay and Robbie Eagles. And we're also going to have Kota Ibushi defending his Wrestle Kingdom title shot, his briefcase, against Kenta. And then in Kobe, we're going to have Shingo taking on Hiroki Goto.
Yeah, man. They got a couple things they need to do. They need to have Ibushi kick the hell out of Kenta to make up for what happened in the G1. I think Ibushi owes him a couple receipts. Hopefully, Kenta can stand up to the punishment because Ibushi's feet are coming at him, as well as a big Kamigoye. And then Shingo versus Goto. Just let them dudes go kick the shit out of each other, and I'll be happy with that. Then, you know, I'm here for the new leader of LIJ, Shingo Takagi.
Yeah, the Shingo Goto match in the G1 was great, and you know, I'm all for these two guys as having another strong style match and battering each other. I just hope we don't see any 50-50 booking here, and you know, I'm all in for Shingo getting the full push here, but maybe they have plans for Goto, and maybe Goto's going to get the win back again. So it'll be interesting to see the outcome of that one.
Yeah, man.
So then we have King of Pro Wrestling matches announced, and King of Pro Wrestling is in October. We're going to have Will Ospreay defending the Junior Heavyweight Championship against El Phantasmo. We're going to have Jon Moxley defending the U.S. title against Juice Robinson. And then we're going to have Okada defending the IWGP title against Sonata. Any of those you're really looking forward to?
I want to see Ospreay and ELP because they've, you know, done some matches before that were really good. Ospreay's on a hell of a tear. I'm interested to see how he's going to close the year out. And then Moxley, does he drop that U.S. title now to Juice, and how active is he in New Japan going forward until Wrestle Kingdom? That is very interesting. Okada and Sonata, we already know what happens.
Yeah, I think, the Ospreay and ELP, I think from an in-ring standpoint, might be the one that I'm most looking forward to. But from a story-wise, I think the Moxley Juice match is going to be the most interesting to kind of keep our eyes on. Like you mentioned, is John going to drop the title right here, kind of going into AEW TV kicking off, or is he going to keep the belt, and does New Japan plan on using him at Wrestle Kingdom? So it'll be very interesting to see. I think John Moxley's deal ends after Wrestle Kingdom, so it looks like he will be on that show one or both nights. So it'll be interesting if he's going to go in as a champion or not.
I would bring him in as a champion, and then whoever you want to have taken from him there, even if it's Juice, do it again. Fuck it. You got him on papers, use that U.S. title, get as much as you can out of it.
Yeah. Then we have some news here from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. This comes from the newsletter. It says, because of the Olympics in 2020, which takes place in August, and most of the key arenas will be used, the decision has been made to move the G1 to fall of next year. So we haven't heard anything confirmed from the New Japan side, but I mean, it seems like, G1 is going to be in the fall next year. What do you think about that?
See, this is strange for me. So I'm just wondering why the G1 would have to move. Why wouldn't the Olympics move for the G1?
That, you know what? I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, this is the grade 1 climax.
Yes. Like, you think I care about archery? You think I care about, curling? If curling is in it this year, I'm not sure. Or if that's the Winter Olympics, I'm not sure. But, what else? The fake wrestling that they have. Well, I don't care about that. The only Olympic sport I worry about is men's basketball and women's basketball. Aside from that, the rest of the Olympics can go move around for the G1.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting with it being in the fall. I think a lot of diehard, New Japan fans, some of the pure elitists, some of the gatekeepers are probably not going to be happy with this. They're used to their summer tradition of having that G1. I do think it's going to make things interesting going into Wrestle Kingdom. I kind of like there being a shorter time in between the G1 and Wrestle Kingdom, and it kind of tightens some things up and tightens some storylines up. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
I didn't even think of that. Because then you have less pay-per-views. Maybe we see somebody go undefeated in the G1 because they don't have the time to, do those matches again. But I've got my list of sports. I don't care about badminton. I don't care about beach volleyball. I don't care about canoe, cycling, diving, fencing, football, meaning soccer, golf. Did you know there was Olympic golf, Jeremy?
I did not.
Handball. I'm good. Give me Okada versus Tanahashi again.
Right. I'm trying to see lariats. I'm trying to see brainbusters. I'm trying to see kamagoyes. I'm trying to see golden triangles, space flying tiger drops. I'm not trying to see none of that other stuff.
Why don't we add the G1 as an Olympic event?
Yes. Add the G1 as the Olympics. There you go.
Right.
But yeah, so like I said, it'll be interesting to see how things go with the shorter time span, because I'm guessing it'll probably start in September and then probably run into October. And I don't know what they'll do with King of Pro Wrestling, if they'll end up having that or not, or G1 matches end up being on King of Pro Wrestling. So we'll see what the time frame is. But yeah, I think it'll make things a little bit more intriguing going into Wrestle Kingdom. So
man.
Other news, we have there's an interview with Kota Ibushi that's up on New Japan World right now, or excuse me, on NJPW1972.com. Part 1 of a written interview. Part 2 will be coming out soon. Also, in Ibushi news, they've just uploaded to New Japan World Ibushi doing commentary from the G1 final match of him and Jay White. So if you understand Japanese, that might be entertaining. For us English speakers, we'll just be hearing Ibushi talk. The New Japan free match of the week is the Destruction in Kobe match with Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kazuchika Okada. Great matchup. Definitely check that out. It's free on the YouTube and New Japan World. And New Japan chairman Sugabayashi, he wants to build a New Japan UK dojo, and this comes from a story from Tokyo Sports. So we already have an LA dojo. Now it seems like they want to get a UK dojo.
Man, can Osprey be the trainer? I mean, that's nice. Expanding internationally. WWE did one, so why not?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think a UK dojo would be great. I mean, clearly they've been having a lot of success with bringing in UK guys and having a lot of UK stars all throughout New Japan's history. I think it makes sense having a UK dojo, especially with how popular New Japan is in the UK and coming off the success of Royal Quest and being a sellout. Clearly there's a market for New Japan in UK. The Rev Pro company has been featuring those New Japan guys a lot on their promotion. So yeah, I think a UK dojo makes sense, and it will help bring in some, probably some new and undiscovered UK guys into New Japan and help create some new stars.
Yeah, man. The more spots you can be trying to cultivate talent, the better. It's only so much the Fale Dojo is going to be able to do for you.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the one Fale young lion Richards is going to do in the Young Lions Cup. It might be one of those things where like Fale's name's on the dojo, but he has like some other raw dude in there.
Oh, okay.
Like training them.
So it's like the Great Khali school.
Yeah. Yeah, Fale's name. He's on the sign just for bring people in, and then he probably got some raw Tongan dude just like training these guys. he probably has like Haku in there, like just like chopping these dudes. And,
oh my god!
Hitting them with the spike, with the Tongan spike, and headbutt.
Death grip.
Yeah, headbutting these dudes.
Yeah.
Yep. So other news, on Friday, August 30th, Jushin Thunder Liger, Nakanishi, and Nagata, Kojima, and Tenzan were all in action at the Pro Wrestling Masters event in Korakuen Hall, which was put on by Keiichi Muto. And then on August 26th, they had Takayaka Mania 2 in Korakuen Hall, which featured some New Japan events, and this is an event for Yoshihiro Takayama, who suffered a spinal injury in 2017 that left him paralyzed. And so these shows are used to help raise funds for him. So it'll be interesting to see if they put any of those New Japan matches up on New Japan World. All right, time to move into some off-topic questions here. First from Reddit user Brian James Interactive. Says, how long do you think it'll take for rumors and chitter-chatter about a working relationship with AEW to die down? It's been coming on a year since everything went down, and it still seems a hot topic, despite there being zero interaction to make it seem it'd be anything otherwise. Seems to me a lot of AEW's side on the coin of wanting things which simply aren't there.
I don't think it'll ever die down because it's ultimately beneficial for both of them to work with each other. And the sooner both sides get over their hurt feelings, I think, it will be the better. New Japan didn't want to give these guys that farewell, and that seems to have stuck with AEW. And, New Japan, they may feel that these guys jump-started their thing on their dime. So there's a lot to get through.
Yeah, especially having guys like Jericho and Moxley working for both promotions, I think that's going to always leave the door open for fans, clamoring for these guys working together, and especially with guys like Kenny Omega, who has it in his contract that he can work internationally. And I know a lot of AEW talents can work internationally since, there's not going to be as many AEW dates as, other promotions that run TV. So fans are going to want that. And like you said, I do think it makes sense for kind of both of them to work together and do a talent exchange. But I will say, I do think New Japan, they should work together, but they shouldn't rely on AEW and like they kind of relied on Ring of Honor for their U.S. stuff. And, they had that relationship with Ring of Honor and would bring the New Japan guys over for these Global Wars and World of World tours. And they didn't really run shows without Ring of Honor guys. Even some of the U.S. shows they did, like Fighting Spirit Unleashed in the past, featured a lot of Ring of Honor guys. And now they're coming to the States and doing full-on New Japan shows using their New Japan roster. So I think they should.
I think that's what people want to see.
Right, and I think they should still do that. I think they should still do standalone New Japan events, and I think that's really going to help build their name up with the Western fans and bring in new fans and grow them in the Western market. And then you can do like maybe a super show of AEW, or just have some of your guys wrestle on AEW shows and not be completely reliant on them to run shows in the U.S.
Hell, do it once a year. Do Starrcade 95 with AEW New Japan. I think I'd want that more than anything.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it's going to be a relationship that would benefit both guys and help some of their younger guys get some exposure. I would love to see, like Private Party against Roppongi 3K in a junior tag situation, something like that. Open up the door for dream matches, and I think will just help elevate both companies working together.
You get the reunion of things like, Shota Umino and Jon Moxley, in a tag team, which everyone would lose their mind for. And there's just so many cool things that can be done by them working together. And if stay in this state of a Cold War that they have going on, it's gonna suck because, like, you know, I like seeing Kenny wrestle with Japanese guys. I like seeing, the Bucks wrestle, you know, in New Japan. I like, you know, that whole dynamic, and part of it is just gone. It's almost like this era that's like it's over, and I think people are always going to clamor for that because that's a time when a lot of folks got into New Japan. Like it or not, like if you're someone that thinks the elite, you know, needs to go away and you know, they were a waste in New Japan, blah, 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 whatever. Face facts. They brought people in and then they took people with them. So, so for New Japan, and New Japan has recovered greatly in their absence, like by creating more stars. And I just think for both of those companies to be at their best, I think having the option of working together in a good relationship works. Like, rather than something else happen and another company step in and start working with New Japan, which would just be like madness. Yeah.
And working with AEW, that would offer a new spot for excursion for the young lions, because honestly, they really haven't sent anybody over to Ring of Honor in a while, and Ring of Honor hasn't really been a great place for people to have excursions. I mean, they had Evil over there when he was still Watanabe, and they didn't really do much of him. You had Roppongi 3K over there. I mean, they were fine there, but Ring of Honor really hasn't, to me, it hasn't really been a beneficial place for guys to kind of go and do anything on excursion. They've had more success in CMLL Mexico and sending guys to the UK. So I think partnering with AEW and having a strong US place to send these guys to learn and work, and I feel like AEW would probably do a better job handling some of these guys that send to them. And
also they would have like a Japan department. Like for AEW, they would have like Kenny and Nakazawa to look after those dudes and make sure they travel okay and different things like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a while before they would ever work together, especially, you have Kenny's now doing a DDT show, and and they're working with other Japanese promotions as well, bringing some other guys in. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how the politics and dynamics play out with that relationship.
Yeah, man.
So next up from Undoubtedly Dean, he says, what would be your ultimate cross-generational matchups? For him, he said, example, 90s Hashimoto versus 2010s Ishii.
Ooh, so admittedly, I'm kind of like Jeremy, where I don't have much of a knowledge base of historical New Japan. And I'm more of a modern era fan, but I did watch guys in the 90s. So for me, I will pull Shinjiro Otani out of the time machine and have him fight Will Ospreay. How about that? Because I saw him and Eddie Guerrero at Starrcade 95, and it was awesome. One of the first great matches I ever remember watching. I got another one, but I'll let you go, Jeremy.
So I would pull, I would do the original Tiger Mask, pull him out the time machine to go against today's Will Ospreay.
So Will Ospreay, you going to fight all the legends.
Right. I mean, Tiger Mask, he was ahead of his time, and we saw the match like he would have a like Dynamite Kid and just being so innovative. I mean, working with a guy like Will Ospreay with both guys in their prime, I think that would be an excellent match.
Another match that I would go ahead and I would take I would bring out, I guess, Fujinami. Ric Flair speaks highly of Fujinami. I've seen, some of his work, and I'd like to see him against Tanahashi. So Fujinami, Tanahashi, run it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that would be a great matchup. I'm also thinking taking Riki Choshu in his prime, putting him up against Okada.
Okay, so that'd be kind of like an Ishii Okada match, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully, Undoubtedly, Dean, let us know what your other, like, if you have any more besides Hashimoto and Ishii. we'd love to hear him.
Yeah, and this will be a great question for Josh. So when he comes back next week, I'll definitely
maybe save that one for him too.
Yeah, because I know Josh will have a ton, especially for some of the guys from like the 80s and 90s to match up with guys of today.
Yeah, man.
So next, got a couple questions from Reddit user Asai Yojimbo. Says, since 2011, only 2 men have had their hands raised after the main event of Wrestle Kingdom, Tanahashi and Okada. It's now 2019, and it's possible that Naito and or Ibushi will become the exception to this trend. If neither of these two are victorious at Wrestle Kingdom in this January, when do you think New Japan will pull a trigger on someone new, and who do you think it will be?
That is a great question. I didn't even realize that Tanahashi and Okada are the only ones to win at Wrestle Kingdom going that far back.
Yeah, honestly, like I know they've been in the main event and won a lot, but I didn't even put it together. It's been that long until I read this question.
Wow. I think you got to look towards the future, and you got to think of somebody that's, I think, a babyface, because I don't think they're going to go off the air with Jay White with his hand in the air. I'd be like, what are they doing? I think Will Ospreay.
Yeah, I mean, Will Ospreay is definitely a guy, especially the more they transition them into this heavyweight role and having matches with guys like Okada and Tanahashi. I mean, getting a big win over Tanahashi. I think he's a guy that they see something in and could push in the future. I really think Kota Ibushi could do it this coming up Wrestle Kingdom. Signing that lifetime contract. I think, now's the time. He's hot. Fans are behind him. You got him locked down. I think this would be the perfect timing. I'm sorry, Naito fans. I think Kota Ibushi should be the one to leave January 4th and 5th as the IWGP champion. And I think I think that'll be more intriguing, and it's going to open up a lot of new title defenses, a lot of new matchups going into 2020 with Ibushi as the champion.
Will Ospreay, January 2022. That would be my prediction.
Shingo Takagi, he's another guy I think has all the tools it takes to be a Wrestle Kingdom main eventer. I'm not sure if they would ever put the title on him, but I think he's a guy that could be in the main event. But I think he's worthy of being the champion. Yeah.
If after the G1, like, Shingo is definitely someone you can put it on. I don't know about how he translates the business and everything. I did hear he was strong in Dragon Gate in that regard, and I'm sure with the proper focus and the right storylines and opponents, I think he will probably do just fine.
Yeah, I think Sonata, with the way that they've been kind of building him up and just the reactions that he has been getting from the crowd and already being popular and being a part of LIJ, I think they could always pull a trigger in Sonata in a year or so and heat him up and get him to that level of being the bayface and kind of winning in the Dome.
Looking rough for Naito out here. It'd be your own group. Your own group.
Oh, man. So that's a good question. Very interesting to kind of think, who could be the next guys to step up outside of Tanahashi and Okada.
Yeah.
Next question from Masai Yojimbo. He says, what did you think of Pac versus Omega at All Out? I think they stole a show last night, and that Pac brought out Omega, the Omega we all missed from New Japan. What were your thoughts of the match?
I don't know if it was New Japan, Kenny, personally. I thought it was really good. I think I gave it 4.5.
Was it 6 or 7?
Yeah, it wasn't 6 or 7, which we do believe in, Josh, if you're hearing this later, always strive for more, always go over the top. We didn't see that, but I think Kenny, they're doing something with Kenny. I can't quite figure it out yet, to where his matches are only achieving a certain level right now. And I think I wrote this in our review column, Jeremy. He might be rusty right now, and combined with him not wrestling a regular schedule, he's doing like one match every like 8 or 10 weeks. He might not be in like prime like ring shape.
Yes,
like as far as for like crispness and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. When you wrote that down in the column today, I was like, yeah, that's a great point. You know, in New Japan, yes, they do have some breaks in between tours sometimes, but he was wrestling pretty regularly and having, you know, all these big matches back to back to back, especially in a G1 environment. And now, you know, he's been having matches here and there, like once a month or every couple months in between. So I think once TV starts back up and he's, you know, getting some more reps, he might be a little bit more crisp. But I really enjoyed the Pac match, and I also went 4.5 on it. I thought it was a really great matchup, and they told a great story of Kenny kind of being the, you know, kind of cocky and arrogant and showboating and kind of not taking Pac seriously, and then ended up getting caught in that brutalizer submission hole and getting the ref stoppage. I thought it was a very interesting finish. I feel like a lot of people kind of expected Kenny to win, especially since this was a replacement match and not facing against Moxley. But yeah, pulled a big surprise having Pac win, and it's going to be very interesting to see the storytelling with Kenny going forward. It looks like they're going to do some kind of redemption arc with him and kind of rebuild him.
Yeah, like, you know, Pac looked, and it is Pac, you know, that we're hearing. So if you're yelling at the thing, it's Pac. They're saying Pac, so I'm going to try to go with that.
Yeah, it's so weird.
yeah. It was good to see him come in, and I don't think you bring him in just to beat him on his first match, because you know, a lot of my thinking on Kenny is that he's bulletproof, like from losses, and you know, it doesn't make me think any less of Kenny to lose. It's almost like an unselfish act, because despite what, you know, head asses may have written on something like Twitter, for example. So I think I saw someone bring a point of, and actually this was a well, I won't say even well-respected reporter. I'll just say a reporter in a high place said this. Like, if WWE brought in Kenny Omega and he lost like his first 2 pay-per-view matches, people's heads would be exploding, right?
Right.
Well, the dynamic isn't necessarily the same in AEW, seeing as how he's an executive. Like, think about that before you tweet. And these people have a lot of trust right now. So the matches are still good. And, you know, I think that, you know, they had a great match, and they have a lot to figure out with Kenny, because, you know, only so many guys can go for the belt. So somebody has to do something else. And maybe Kenny's just doing something else right now. So I'm willing to, you know, see where it goes.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to kind of see where they go with Kenny. And like you mentioned, it's one of those things where I don't think the loss hurts him. He didn't get pinned. He didn't tap out. It was a ref stoppage, so he can come back on the promo and say, I did not give up. I did not want the match to stop. And so that can kind of be the angle they go with. And, you know, I'm kind of a big this might be a kind of an old school kind of thing, but I'm very big on when a new guy comes into a promotion that he should not lose his first match if you're going to be pushing him. You know, that was one of the things I hated about Lucha Underground. You would have all these, you know, new cool guys coming in, and they would lose their debut match. It's like, okay, like, why should I care about this dude going forward if he, you know, first, you know, you hype up the debut and then he loses. So I'm kind of glad they went with Pac winning, especially because it seems like he's going to be, you know, a big player there, and he's going to potentially be a title contender, especially beating Omega. So I like the fact that they went with Pac getting the win there and doing the ref stoppage, like, which kind of protects Kenny.
Right.
And if you guys want to see more of our thoughts about All Out, Rich and I did a written review, which is up on Social Suplex right now on the homepage, socialsuplex.com. And then also Rich, James, and Doc Chad Matthews also talked about All Out on this week's One Nation Radio. That's right here on this same feed on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. So go out and check that out. And I'm sure that when Floyd and Amy and Tiffany get into recording this week, they're going to have lots of insights. They were at StarCast and at All Out Live. I mean, Floyd and Tiffany were right there in the front row.
Floor seats.
Yeah, so they're going to have a great live perspective on what they thought about All Out. So be on the lookout for that later this week right here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. And then the last thing,
you mean this isn't the AEW network?
Not yet.
Until I start this live this review show and a TV show.
If WWE starting their network, so if AEW wants to start their network, Tony Khan, he can call us up.
Yeah. So the cash. We buying out Ricky and Clive too.
Yeah, man, we change up everything. Elite Nation Radio, keeping it elite. The Ricky and Clive Elite Show. Yeah, man.
Yep. Grown men are elite.
Yes, grown men watch Elite.
Get in the elite.
Oh man,
and all things elite.
Yeah. Florida and them are already set up. So
yep.
Yeah, man. We'll just be a 24/7 network, just covering AEW. Hey,
we just kidding.
But at the same time, though, if Vinnie Mac and Uncle Paul, if they're trying to do a buyout, I'll happily take some McMahon money too. Get on there and talk about King of the Ring and Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins. So
I'll bend over backwards to explain their storylines. If they drop off that bag, this will be McMahon Defense Radio.
Yes, yeah. Keeping it sports entertainment.
Correct.
Oh man, but yeah, we're just messing around. But yeah, so one last thing before we head out, the recommended match of the week. My pick for this week for you guys to check out is Satoshi Kojima versus Hiroshi Tanahashi from Wrestle Kingdom 5. So on Saturday before Royal Quest, Josh and I were just kind of messing around and watching some using the timeline feature. This is a great timeline feature that's now on New Japan World that kind of has a lot of the big matches throughout New Japan's history. So I'm a Kojima mark and scrolled across and saw this Kojima versus Hiroshi Tanahashi match, and this was a great matchup here. And kind of the story going into this match, Satoshi Kojima, he originally was in New Japan, but then he jumped ship to All Japan Pro Wrestling in 2002, and then eventually leaving All Japan and becoming a freelancer, came in and win the IWGP Championship. So you have the storyline of kind of like this outsider with the champion, Hiroshi Tanahashi, in his prime, rising up, the face of New Japan. He has to be the one to beat this outsider and get the belt back to New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it was a really great matchup here. This was the same Wrestle Kingdom where TNA was involved, so a lot of other interesting matchups on this card. But yeah, definitely check out Kojima and Tanahashi from Wrestle Kingdom 5.
For sure, man. I'll give that a look.
Yeah, man. You can't go wrong with Kojima, and you can't go wrong with the Ace.
For sure. Machine gun chops.
Yes, and high fly flows, and just
right.
Prime shape Tanahashi, man. This guy, he's so lean. He got the long hair. He had the love and energy.
Oh man, I haven't heard that music in so long.
Yeah, so yeah, man. Overall, really great, hard hitting match. Great storytelling of Tanahashi having to overcome Kojima. So check that one out. Well, that's going to wrap things up here for this week. Rich, go ahead and tell the people where they can find you.
For sure, man. Follow me on Twitter at RichLatta32. I'm also the host of One Nation Radio with James Boyd on Sundays here on One Nation Radio. If you guys enjoy what I bring to the table, check out my show. It's usually a lot, of foolishness and fun. And check out SoSuplex.com. Like I actually, wrote something, so it's been a while. So I'm thinking about writing, something about Jericho with the championship to shut down some folks. A more extended take what I did in the last paragraph. But yeah, that's where you can find me. Check me out on YouTube. Type in Rich Latta, you'll see like some music stuff I got going on.
Yeah, and I've been loving One Nation Radio lately with all the Stardom coverage. We've all been watching Stardom more, the 5-star Grand Prix going on, and James Boyd, the Joshi expert of Social Suplex, is doing a great job of kind of recapping and getting us all hooked into Stardom. So if you guys are getting into Stardom, which I know a lot of you guys are, you definitely want to listen to One Nation Radio as they're kind of covering the 5-star Grand Prix as it's happening.
Yeah, man.
So
James gonna love that.
Yeah. Yeah, at JamesBoy87. Ask all your stardom questions.
Every single one of them.
So next week we'll be back with reviews of the first 4 nights of the Road to Destruction tour and updates on the Young Lions Cup. Make sure you follow us on social media. I'm at Jeremy L. Donovan. The show is at KI Strong Style. Also follow us at Social Suplex on Facebook. We're facebook.com/Social Suplex. Also join us in the Wrestling Squared Circle, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Brat Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy, at socialsuplex.com. Make sure you check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Like we mentioned, Rich and James host One Nation Radio on Sundays. On Wednesdays, we have the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland. Every other Wednesday, we have our podcast dedicated to independent wrestling. Grown Men Watch This Shit, hosted by Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryan. On Fridays, we have Get in the Ring with Danny and Beast Mike. And on Saturday, we have All Things Elite with Floyd Johnson Jr., Amy O, and Tiffany. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. We'll catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time. Next time.